The city's waking up, and so are the charts. Every move on this screen has a story. Sometimes it's hype, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's nothing at all. But if you look close enough, you'll see the rhythm behind it. No drama, no magic, just patterns, pressure, and people trying to make sense of it all. So let's take a look at where we're at and where this thing might go.
What is up, friends? How's everybody doing? I'll post this in 1 sec, and then maybe we'll get some more people in here. Tony the Bull had an interesting video he put out. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was like pricing Bitcoin and gold. Well, we could check that out for a sec. I don't really like drawing too many conclusions from this because nobody really uses gold as money. It's still more of a speculative instrument, kind of like Bitcoin, and it's just extremely popular right now. But I think Litecoin actually looks better than most things here. It's like one of the only coins like trying to break back up from where it this initial like A leg down bottomed. ETH and most everything else broke down much harder. I guess XRP is trying to rally too. But it does look stronger than a lot of these other charts on the short-term time frames. See if we can get some of the usual people in here. For a second, I'm just going to hang out until someone comments in the chat. Which should be enabled now. At first, when I started this, I think I accidentally hit it's made for kids, and so it didn't let me have the live chat, but it's working on my side now. Yeah, I don't know what other narrative Bitcoin really has. Right, it was totally relying on credit layers to scale the money, or this idea of credit layers, money substitutes like Lightning. And then it just kind of, price kept going up, kept being popular enough out of momentum. They just switched it to institutional adoption, institutional credit layers, which will fail because those can be shut off with a few signatures, so it's weird how the narrative hasn't caught up, but Bitcoin's not going to work any differently than it has for the last 10. Alright, we've got a few more. We'll wait a sec. I actually saw someone with like 100k followers point out what I had been pointing out. I don't remember where it was though. What's up, Luke? How you doing? I've got like a few hours, so I'm just hanging out for a sec. It is very boring at the moment. But I think there's a decent chance. I know I know everyone still kind of believes without everything else going up, Litecoin won't, but I think this is as good a chance as any for Litecoin to break ahead of the rest of the market with ETF inflows. It just opens up a huge pool of capital, and given the size, it's not going to take much to generate some momentum. That's really the only thing that drove Bitcoin here off the lows. And even though I talk a lot about how this market's super silly, I did think Bitcoin would rally to 100k back in 2022. What should we look at? It can't be that long. If this is going to break, like if Litecoin's going to break out here, from this super long period of low volatility, there's no better time than now. The chances of it happening now are far better than any time before. It's basically spent 97 months going sideways. Right, it first entered this range in August of 2017, and it has not moved, but network activity's moved up 100x. Litecoin over silver looks a lot like Litecoin over everything else. It's like this long-term descending wedge. And I wouldn't, you know, you could call it a descending triangle here, as the lows have been somewhat, you know, the same price, but I don't know. I don't really like pricing. I don't know how much there is to really glean from the pair charts. I think looking at the dollar, since that's what everyone uses as money today, is the best if you're going to do technical analysis. I mean, part of technical analysis is, you know, traders all looking at the same levels, and they're mostly trading these assets against the dollar. But I think Litecoin looks more like silver prior to this major breakout where it went sideways for multiple decades, or here where it hung around the bottom for 4,000 days, which is similar to what Litecoin did. So we were on a 4-hour TD9 buy and a 12-hour as well. Are about to be on a daily 9. Probably will get that. I mean, if tomorrow just goes sideways, right? Tomorrow's Sunday, usually pretty low volatility. As long as the close of the next daily candle, you know, tomorrow at futures market open is below 105.70. We'll have a TD9 buy as well on the daily time frame. And we're gonna get it in Bitcoin too. It did bottom on a 9 previously. But Bitcoin is so weird. It let's check the network stats. MWeb as well. I mean, we're just moving sideways. There's nothing really to talk about. I do hope MWeb gets adopted. I mean, the more people that use this, if Litecoin's going to get a decent price rise, maybe get some marketing and higher usage, but privacy for every individual using this gets exponentially better with higher usage, right? If you have millions of transactions here, you could just solely operate inside MWeb if you're buying stuff with these MWeb coins and never leaving. You have pretty decent privacy. And it becomes exponentially more expensive for governments to try to surveil if you have 5 million daily transactions. In here, I don't know what the limit is. I guess it kind of depends. But I mean, if this wave basis idea is correct here, it can't be too much longer. If this really is a nested setup, the wave 3 should start and it should be near vertical once it does. Like, assuming this is correct. What did XRP over total 3 look like prior to its rally? Where'd it go? Yeah, nearing the point of this having to break one way or the other. Historical volatility doesn't really show it, but it is compressing here. It's actually a new all-time low on the weekly Bollinger Bandwidth. What is Eric Trump saying?
Super
How do you think Bitcoin's going to go?
I've always said that I think in time Bitcoin surpasses $1 million. I think with quantitative easing that we're going to have starting tomorrow when the announcement's made, and all signs point in the right direction, unless this guy's really off his rocker, but then he's going to just get laughed out of this country. But I think starting tomorrow you're going to see right drops. You see what's happening with M2, which is the money supply around the world, which is skyrocketing right now. Fourth quarter has always historically been the best quarter. Generally the best quarter for cryptocurrencies in the future.
Potentially right. But I think it's interesting that the only bullish case that people talk about for Bitcoin is like it took a long time for people to figure out that inflation was driving financial assets. It's like so commonly known now. But I think this marks the end of the long-term cycle because inflation really has been driving financial markets for a long time. You know, constantly lowering interest rates, getting cheaper cost of money for 40 years, really since the 1980s, is a lot of what's been driving financial assets, and it's only recognized really like broadly now. I think I realized it in 2017, 2018. But it seems like it'll be the end. I think the biggest shock to Bitcoin believers and cryptocurrency markets in general is that inflation is going to skyrocket at some point, in my opinion, and financial asset prices are going to come down significantly. So I think that trend is going to break. But the whole market has to figure out what the signal is, and then when everyone figures it out, it doesn't work anymore. Or you can't convince. You run out of people to convince. What's up, Anthony? How have you been? You still farming away? What do you think right now? You thinking we finally move here? All is well, nice. That is good, sir. I don't know. To me, this looks on the very short-term time frames like it's gonna break. Break higher. I'm just bored right now. Didn't have much to really talk about. Think it's a waiting game, seasonal bullshit? Yeah. Well, what Eric Trump said is actually right, even though I disagree with him on most things. Yeah, this is seasonally the best, or like the most boring phase is Q3, summer period. Q4 is generally the strongest. So we'll see if that trend remains. If we get the breakout candle this next quarter though, I think it's going to be the largest green candle we've had. But I don't think there's any asset that's consolidated in crypto this long with rising real adoption metrics. There's definitely been assets that consolidated for quite a while, not super long, but long for crypto. XRP for like 7 years, but it had no rising adoption. And same with Dogecoin. Boring for quite a long time. but no real growth. We'll see. These Ichimoku guys have been pretty accurate, and Joe was tweeting about this back at the highs 2 months ago. But I know he's been bullish. I mean, he was bullish at the wrong times actually, like in 2021 here. Thinking it would move like Dogecoin did. Yeah, the first ETF at least, the Canary one. I wonder if they'll just approve all of them at the same time. But for such a new name issuer like Canary Capital, I don't know how much or how strong their first week of inflows would be. I don't. There's just no marketing around it, but it will, like, there will be some, right? It will be new demand. Litecoin's so small, but if we had like a BlackRock Litecoin ETF or Vanguard or Fidelity, probably do much better. But leverage has been drained. This took a long time. To completely reset. What's up, Ragnarok? Lack of demand in light strategy is concerning. I don't know, isn't that like a 100 million market cap company? I've never been interested in these treasury companies. Like, I think they should all trade at a discount to spot. Because you're like, as an investor, you're taking on way more risk. You're taking on the individual company risk. They can dilute your shares. Or that we've seen that with Bitcoin treasury companies already. Like, this guy just posted about it. Actually like this account. But this guy's mad. I mean, that's the risk you're taking though. They can do whatever they want. You dilute shares. They can merge with another company and enrich their friends by dumping on you. Plus, you don't even have access to the underlying assets. You can't take possession. You have political risk, right? If the government starts to not like it, all your Bitcoin's held by someone else. Never made sense to me that they would trade at a premium. Their NAV price was 107. I see. Yeah, I wouldn't. The upside is pretty crazy. Like, if something were to repeat on a similar scale with one of these Litecoin treasury companies that happened with MicroStrategy, but I think that's gonna be hard. MicroStrategy, I think we're at the end of digital asset treasuries. This is MicroStrategy over Bitcoin. It looks like it's gonna, I'd imagine it eventually comes back to the lows and probably even more so. Like makes new lows. Yeah, well, MicroStrategy basically got a bunch of free marketing because the Bitcoin speculators were so large in number that they just all promoted him independently because he was going to pump their bags. And then once he got to a certain level of like mainstream crypto culture, and he got free airtime on all the major financial news outlets. Maybe this rallies one more time, but I think even if Bitcoin rallies, MicroStrategy topped in premium terms. So anybody who bought, I remember tweeting about the top this day, but anyone who bought MicroStrategy instead of Bitcoin in the last year, it's down in Bitcoin terms. Caspa looks like a lot of the meme coin charts here. Yeah, it's if Litecoin had one person, one wealthy individual to market somewhat like a sailor, the price would rally quickly. I don't know why nobody else sees the opportunity, why they all follow each other into an overcrowded trade. Seems like human nature. They all follow each other, like in GBTC. there's not many asks. A few $1,000,000 moves price. In total 24-hour volume. This is like I don't know how much of it's real, like 20-30 million dollars. Kind of crazy. Alright, 13 people in here. Perfect. Let's get back to 113. What is the current expectation, do you guys think, sentiment-wise? I haven't looked at the recent surveys in equities. For how far stocks have rallied, sentiment hasn't gotten extremely bullish. Like barely above the historical average. And bearish sentiment is, you know, less people neutral, more people bearish. Which is kind of crazy considering the 40% move off the lows we've had. Yeah. There's nothing that's going to stop the money printer, but I think once everyone's convinced that that means financial asset prices have to go up, that it will change. Like, to me, money printing at some point it has to result in interest rates, long-term interest rates going higher. Or you're devaluing all of that long-term debt. I mean, they can try to hide money printing and call it different words, but eventually the market should figure it out. And you can try to suppress interest rates for a while, but I think eventually the next round of QE or more stimulus, if we do have continual rising unemployment and weakness in the overall economy, the amount of money printing that will come is not going to be bullish anymore. And really, like, all of this inflation that's been created and going into financial assets is creating a market being driven by like memes and popularity. And Bitcoin can fall out of favor just like meme coins have, right? Meme coins went up on popularity. But the market kind of thinks that Bitcoin is different. In reality, most people are buying it for the same reasons they buy meme coins. They don't need it. And it takes more and more money to move it higher. And you have way more people in profit sitting on unrealized profits that will start dumping. And when it's super top heavy like that, I don't, you know, any other coin breaking out like Litecoin, which seems most logical, will steal that speculative attention that BTC normally would get. Then the pendulum swings and finally we break out of this super boring period. It's really hard. I'm not surprised that speculative attention and interest has gone down and people have sold, because it's an extremely long time and people think about opportunity costs, like they could have made a lot more money. And so they like capitulate just before expansion. Maybe they feel like geniuses because they bought ETH and outperformed for, you know, temporarily, but probably won't get back in time. And miss the move. What's up, Nick? What's up, Lance? I'm just hanging out. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. But what do you think, Nick, on the short-term time frames? I mean, it's Saturday. I feel like weekends should mostly be ignored. But it doesn't look bad. It looks like it might reclaim this level that it broke down from. If you're free, you should jump on here. I've got like an hour. I don't really like the crypto fear and greed index because I think it's Like the variables they're using aren't really a direct reflection of sentiment. Oh, I see. You're on the way back. How many hours do you got left? A fast food combo's like 13 bucks, yeah. But it's like when all the like regular mainstream influencers are talking about investing and you have to buy financial assets to stay ahead, I get worried. Because that trend didn't start too long ago. But they're not really investing, they're just like speculating. Mostly in stuff that's already popular. But yeah, it's gonna be weird. You have 3 hours left. It's not too bad. I haven't driven in so long, but for a while I was driving I drove like 70,000 miles in a year for work and for fun. You left 11 hours ago? Nice. It seems like, yeah, well, I'm seeing like so many temporary topping signs, at least in stocks. There's a lot of portfolio flexing, like people that just hit $1 million in their account by buying call options and stuff in equities. And then I'm seeing a lot of crypto people, even though I don't follow that many, or I like don't check X. I do, but I'm not like following anyone intently. I randomly see people in crypto like saying they're quitting the market and looking at trading stocks instead. So we have the right sentiment for this to moon. I saw you commented, I didn't see like Joe or that Crypto Says guy post about Litecoin until recently. I saw you reply to him. It's hard to tell what he actually thinks. He said, decent chance. We're in great shape to have an impulse, but it needs time. I know he's been accumulating Litecoin for a long time and was actually expecting a Doge-like move. He talked about it like in 2021 or 2022. Yeah, that was old. That was from 2 months ago, but then he reposted today, 5 hours ago. Always your good old friend Euphoria, but there's no Euphoria here. Interest is dead. It's had a slight move up in price, but it's not euphoric. Interest made a lower high. Nowhere near Euphoria. Like what? This is tiny. He called the whole downturn. I remember him talking about Let's see. I just remember seeing like comparisons to Dogecoin back in 2021. Let's see. Maybe from January 1st, 2021. Oh, maybe it's 2022. The best RR you can find. May 30th. May 30th, 2022. So I don't know. I don't. We'll see. Maybe he. It's just been hard for every trader that's been bullish like one. Yeah. We're still holding. It's gonna go sideways until Sunday. I feel like the CME gap will close, so it might head back down a little bit from here. But there's like zero volume on the weekends. Oh yeah, he called this like whole cycle really well. Like total 3, total 2. But I do think, like from the beginning of the cycle, I thought Litecoin was in the most unique position. I thought it was the only chain that was going to grow fundamentally outside of raw speculation like we see with, you know, Solana. I didn't think that would happen, but I was only confident in Bitcoin. And then thinking Litecoin would grow much faster. But that fundamental stuff didn't even matter. Yeah, he thinks we continue sideways. That is, I think I saw that. Like more chop and grind. Possible. Definitely. Could be the case. I mean, I don't, it's basically more of what has been happening. This other Ichimoku guy has been pretty accurate and still thinks like 270k in Q1 or Q2. Pretty sure. But thinks it resumes, the bull trend resumes in Q1. So, but I don't know. Yeah, they've been right in time. But it's only been this cycle. It's only been for this cycle. And we have had random altcoin pumps. It seems random, but some things moving pretty hard. The cat guy is less accurate. Oh. We'll see. Maybe Joe like refined his trading style. Or got better after 2021. And I don't think you need, I don't think ETH is gonna drive alt season. I don't even think there will be one. We should just have isolated winners, kind of like what we had around XRP rallying late last year. That's what I would think. Yeah, true. You've been super accurate. It's so hard to call a breakout of a asset that's been going sideways for like 10 years. But I know if it does break out, it will happen in this period where not many people are watching it or expecting it. And I think it can run almost on its own. Right, if it breaks out when nothing else is really trending, it has a much better chance of continuing to pull capital out of other altcoins or Bitcoin even. Yeah, his WP dates are somewhat astrological based. Some people use that pretty well. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, that cat guy liked Litecoin. He called the move to new lows here. But again, I don't think anyone's going to be able to see, just like nobody saw the Dogecoin move before or called the XRP move in advance. I just have the view that speculation eventually aligns with the reality, and I think the market will eventually figure it out. And if there's this expectation of future value for permissionless money through Bitcoin, then it's gonna work like it has been working for the past 10 years. And if you assume Bitcoin is gonna take a decent chunk of the world's market for money, Bitcoin has this limit. Its demand is limited by block space and fee pressure. So naturally, Litecoin should take away the premium from Bitcoin. You just have to convince a small number of people to see it, and then you'll get the idea that Bitcoin is just BTC, and to Bitcoin is multiple chains, BTC, LTC. So far, there's only two that have any sort of correlation with one another. And maybe there's never enough demand to secure 3 Bitcoin chains. But realistically, people should arbitrage security for cost until the 2 Bitcoin chains that are dominant have similar network activity on them and similar market caps, because it's just, the trade-off is so low if this is the trade-off to migrate between the two is so low compared to almost anything else, any other good or service or product that you use and buy a substitute product for it. You get the same exact thing because it's open source software, just with a slightly lower security level. So if you're an end user demanding it for its value prop, but not just speculating, you're not going to pay 100 times more for the same thing. But yeah, I don't know. The risk is that we never get to that point where this is more broadly used. Yeah, it's weird, Nick. That has been happening. Litecoin's been rallying when Bitcoin and the rest of the market has been shitty. I've noticed that the past, well, it's been happening really for like a year. Like when these other coins start to gain momentum, Litecoin's been not doing well at all. Litecoin still looks so good at $92. I mean, it could drop there. That's like the most logical. It's like the 1618 level. If you take low to high and project out these fibs. So I don't know. It was for minimal periods of time. Like Litecoin outperformed February of basically February of 2025 of this year. So it was going sideways and dumps, but then Litecoin caught up and just dumped against Bitcoin. And then it outperformed July. And Bitcoin did rally in July. Litecoin just needs like a 50% move for people to talk about it and momentum to start building. Right now, the whole mass public that's involved in crypto doesn't hear about it. They only hear one story. Yeah, I think Litecoin's just been respecting the horizontal levels. It really has been in this sideways range. Only recently starting to trend up from the low in July of last year. But to me, all this price action of 8 years just looks corrective, basically, except for when the trend kind of started changing. I know there's a lot of people seeing more impulsive price action on the lower time frames. Even here. What's up, Vivaci? How you doing? Luigi, LTC remembers when I do homework in school. Huh? Oh, remembers you? Yeah, what were the ETF inflows for the first week for Bitcoin and ETH? Or for the first month? I'll ask ChatGPT. Bitcoin did $1 billion. Over $1 billion. Or 1.6 billion. ETH did 106 million in the first day. I mean, if Litecoin did 100 million in the first month, that would be a lot. ETH did 100 million in a day. What's up, Dewey? Draw a box from the August lows to the highs. Whoops. How do you even draw boxes in here? I never use them. You mean these lows here? Is this what you mean? What do you want me to see here, Nick? Hey, Fernando. My cat wants me to grab him. Hey. 13 people are gonna make it. Yeah, there's not very much room for a lot of people to really make it here. All right, you sent me something. My cat's like in my face. Yeah. He like claws at my microphone. Yeah, this cat's cool. He's like fun, but like he likes to play outside without a leash. Doesn't run away. He's also super nice. It's kind of a good cat. What did you want? I guess I don't understand. What you're implying with the box here. Like we are still within it. Or just going to stay here. A lot of these others look way weaker. All the coins that pumped on like massively or like really quickly from the lows and are struggling much further away from their previous highs and also pumped in 2021. I feel like will really struggle. I never liked coins that did so well and got super inflated in the previous cycle because you have so many holders that won out at break even. Check the DM. Oh, I see. Reclaim that like ascending trend line up. Here that it kind of broke down from. I see. Most likely retrace to that point of first breakdown. Like 112, 113. I feel like it's so hard to call on the lower time frames. If this is correct, we just go straight vertical. as soon as this next leg up starts, and maybe it's along Credible's idea. This, I feel like this is a very unpopular idea right now. But I've always, from the beginning, thought it would end in a blow off. It seems unlikely now because we haven't, like, so far the whole cycle, it's been relatively muted. But this is actually how I was looking at Litecoin. Like this being a running flat, and usually these wave 2 corrections can shake everyone out. It can be pretty drawn out in time. But that's what I thought Litecoin looked like. Like this was actually the end of the move, and then we've had a running flat correction from here with a slight higher high. Alright, see you later, Nick. Yo, what's up? FitMix, or is that your name, FitMix? Yeah, Litecoin doesn't have a mascot token. It was someone created a Litecoin Lester meme coin, but it has nothing to do with like the Litecoin official account. It was some random person made it. Yeah, I don't know. From the very beginning, I thought Bitcoin would eventually get this blow off, unlike 2021, because I thought we were in the last inning of a longer term credit cycle, and those historically or typically result in blow-offs. And that's why I was so bullish on Litecoin, because I couldn't imagine a scenario where fees didn't rally to new all-time highs, and Litecoin getting pretty close to at least Bitcoin's daily user count, and maybe even total transaction volume through the chain. And I know that sets the price long term. And then eventually would rekindle that speculative interest that has been declining forever, and people would recognize the truth. But narratives don't form until the very end. So I was waiting for that narrative to be commonplace for what I've thought since 2017, like early 2017, when they first talked about scaling, that it would work this way, and once everyone agrees, it would be the sign of a top. Because if Litecoin is pumping and it gets this higher time frame breakout, and these variables align with higher fees and Litecoin getting up to close to Bitcoin's total transactions sent, it's rational. The market should figure it out. The market should realize a single chain has a limit in monetary adoption, and that the opportunity is not in the first Bitcoin chain anymore, it's in the second. But just like all other narratives, they generally form after, like at the very last stage. So that's why I think this inflation, everyone measuring inflation in M2 and realizing it affects financial asset prices, like broadly, everyone knows that now. It has to be a sign of the very end of that trend, or pretty close to it. So that's what we wait for. Fernando, you gotta sleep somewhere else, bro. This is crazy. Praying we pump soon. Yeah. It's been rough. Whoever survives this this phase deserves it more than anyone else, especially if the fundamental long-term idea is correct. I had to watch so many people get rich off of short-term hype, pump and dump scams. I just think the odds of institutional like reflexivity are super high. That's where all the money is. Right, if they are focused mainly on Bitcoin, and there's a second dominant Bitcoin chain, you finally start to see price outperformance. It'll trigger fund rebalancing. You know, the narrative changing slowly over time. People looking at this more intelligently rather than just, oh, we pray that governments or institutions are going to buy our Bitcoin at a more extremely overvalued price. They just won't listen to that stuff anymore. Right, it could reach mainstream level of awareness quickly and then get to the truth and price it accordingly. Yeah, it's been a boring weekend. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Price still holding. It doesn't look too terrible. Like open interest is completely reset. There's not a high degree of potential liquidation. We just had one of the largest liquidation events in crypto the whole year, and it didn't move price much. A lot of longer term holders like these Litecoin treasuries have acquired a decent amount of the supply. So I don't know. Downside risk seems not very substantial. And you're gonna have a giant new source of potential demand open up that really helped pump Bitcoin. So I think everyone that wanted exposure to Bitcoin through the ETFs that couldn't get it through crypto exchanges already has it, whether that's indirectly through Bitcoin treasury companies like MicroStrategy or directly through the Bitcoin ETF. It's been around a long time. The only place you could get exposure was in this Grayscale product, and this actually performed better than like Solana from the lows. I think there is quite a bit of demand for, will be more demand for Litecoin ETF than people realize, because what's popular with older people is not what's popular with the crowd that's like in crypto today, right? The crypto bros. Like, it's a totally different view, and it takes not much to get it going. Once the catalyst breaks out, forces price higher, Litecoin enters the conversation. At the mainstream level, and people should listen to, I don't want to be egocentric, but should listen to what I'm saying, because this is the way that Bitcoin has always been designed to work. It's just been at odds with all these people who want to pump their bags. But I think it's pretty telling that over the last 8, 9, 10 years, there's been so much money dumped into marketing scaling solutions that never materialized into anything. So why would you believe it would work any differently than it's currently working? And if you understand that, then why would you buy something at the most expensive price relative to its monetary demand in history when you can buy the same exact thing at its, you know, at an extreme discount, the most discounted price it's ever been relative to its monetary demand and future for Litecoin is extremely bullish if you believe that the Bitcoin security model is going to see higher levels of demand, which a lot of people do see it that way. So I don't know. I think this is like a once in a generation type opportunity. And of course, nobody is paying attention. I need to use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. And then I've got like 30 minutes, so I'll be right back. One sec. Yeah, it's tough, Crypto Arcanum. Yeah, it'd be nice. That's what's tough, is a lot of us are forced to sell a bit. Market does a good job of like inflicting max pain. What's up, LTC84? We're almost there though. I like yeah, we'll see what the ETF does. Price brings everyone. Nothing really happened. Nothing changed about Bitcoin except it lost monetary dominance throughout this whole price rise. But people interpret it differently above 100K. Yeah, your emotions are generally a good sign. I mean, I've had a few signals in my real life of people saying this looks terrible, or just lack of interest, and that definitely a good sign. Just needs momentum. And we gotta see how strong the higher time frame breakout is. Yeah, the government shutdown talk won't last very long. It seems like it comes up. There's like no incentive for the government to actually shut itself down. All these people want to be paid. On both sides. There's nobody in government that gets any real benefit. If it does shut down. Just shut down the government so the SEC can't approve a Litecoin ETF. I don't know, this looks like the most compressed bullish chart I've ever seen in my life. Looked better than Dogecoin did. I think the end of the first move takes somewhere between 2 and 4K. We'll see, guys. We'll see. Sorry, I was just bored. Wanted to get on here while I had some time, but literally nothing has. Like, it's just boring. Nothing has changed. We're just waiting for the expansion phase. Alright guys, I'm probably gonna jump off here. I have to go. Get on League. I used to play League. I haven't played games in so long, but like in late high school, early college, before I forced myself to quit, I played League quite a bit. I forced myself to study music instead of do something that I thought would eventually be irrelevant. What league are you in, sir? Like, what rank? The highest I got to was Diamond 1. But that was when there was just Challenger tier with 200 players. So there's no Master tier. And it was before they changed runes and masteries. I mean, 25k, yeah, it's impossible to know. I think assuming Litecoin will have the same kind of narrative strength as Bitcoin is a lot to assume. We'll watch to see if Bitcoin's going to end in a blow off. I think the odds of these higher price targets are more likely, because I think the odds of high Bitcoin fees and higher value migration of likely passing BTC in a final parabolic rally is really high. And I think when Litecoin finally breaks out of this compressed range with that fundamental demand catalyst, which has never really existed in crypto, that can move price 10x alone, will force narrative change. So we'll have to watch and see really what Bitcoin does and how much transaction migration is happening. And then I think from institutional reflexivity and diversification out of Bitcoin only, based on the market understanding the most likely future, will force this rapid repricing. But if Bitcoin doesn't get that move, and if we don't see the transaction migration, it's possible Bitcoin just retains this dominant narrative. But I don't know, what would be hardest is if Litecoin just slowly moved up, and Bitcoin did as well. That's why I think fundamental valuations of cryptocurrencies are important, and understanding the context in which they will be adopted. Projecting fundamental growth over time is the only way to have some sense of confidence. Technical analysis fails so often. Like, very few people who had long-term vision of Bitcoin held through the 80% corrections or bought it early on and stuck around. But I think Litecoin, it should be easier because it hasn't been on this consistent uptrend, but fundamental growth has, and the potential to increase dramatically over a short amount of time on the fundamental side is there. But we'll see. What's up, Andrew? Oh, I'm just about to leave. It's all good. I usually come here at 9, but today I have to do something. So I'm actually gonna get off here. I gotta walk like 45 minutes. Alright guys, I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for coming up and hanging out. Yeah, for sure. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we have something interesting to talk about rather than just staring at nothing happening. So you guys have a good rest of your weekend. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow should be more interesting. We got the futures market open. Maybe see some volatility. Yeah, have a great night, friends. See you all later.